types of research coming along to the APA style. So today we are going to talk about, again, descriptive studies, analyzing data, and the final part of the lecture will be to go over the whole format of the paper itself, the study itself. So concerning analyzing data, you will see that we have, so still we are talking about descriptive studies. So we have two options in order to analyze data. We have the Microsoft Excel sheet or the SPSS program. And again, just a reminder, last time we said that never mind going to statisticians and asking them to do the job. You can do that in a simple way, because the aim of research is not to fascinate other scholars and your colleagues about complicated terms, about things that cannot be understood. The idea is that you can arrange a study that is understandable by everyone, because you are adding something to the field of study. I hope that all Iraqi researchers can get this result in order to get the uppermost benefit of scientific studies. So again, analyzing data, don't go to anybody else, and you have simple ways, simple tools in order to do the job. You have Microsoft Excel or SPSS, and the SPSS, we are not doing the high technical professional thing. We are doing a simple statistics that is, that are any researcher can do them. And then the whole process, even though we are talking numbers today, is enjoyable. It's fun, because I did an experiment with an undergraduate student, and I taught him how to write a study right from the beginning, how to do the survey, how to do the statistics, and till now he's doing research papers. He's he's marvelous with his teachers and students. He knows a lot about scientific research, and he's the most important thing is that he's enjoying the whole process. So again, today we'll talk about just the SPSS, because right away it's the most acceptable tool all over the world. And I think it's easier than Microsoft Excel. I'm not sure, but still the option is yours. Even you can use SPSS or the Microsoft Excel. So here, last time we talked about how to create the survey, and then we said we need to code this survey. So the coding process will result in a code book. In your code book, you have all the answers translated into numbers, and questions also translated into codes. So now here, instead of manually entering your data into SPSS, so the step of entering data into the Excel sheet, it will be the first step of entering all these numbers. Then when you come to the SPSS, you don't need to do that again. That's why we prepared the code book, because it will facilitate the process. Then, as you have seen here, we have two sheets in the SPSS program. We have the first one on your left-hand side is the first sheet. We call it the first sheet. And then the other one, the empty one, is the second sheet. So instead of doing the job manually entering your data into the SPSS, you will download it from your ready Excel sheets. It will just pop out, and then everything will be downloaded into the program. Doing that, then it means that the items codes you provided will be spontaneously added. When we gave the items Q1, meaning question 1, Q2, question 2, etc., it will appear in the SPSS program when you download your Excel sheet, the code book. It will be added to the first column in the second sheet. And then you will need to enter the details. That is something that you have to do. The variables, you have to enter them by hand in the second column, which is called or labeled type. And then the response scale in the sixth column, which is labeled value. Now we entered our data. Why do we need the SPSS? What we are doing? This is the missing part in most of Iraqi studies. When they go to statisticians, we said that the picture is unclear. Their job is just to do the theoretical background And then the second job will be done by the statistician, which is vague to the researcher. He said, this is not my job, it's the job of number of people. And then when the ready-made came to him. But here, no, we control everything. So what to calculate in a descriptive study? Why do we need numbers? What we need are two things, frequencies and mean. So by frequencies, we mean how many times people or participants answered this question. So by this, we have the frequencies. Then we count the mean of these answers. That is the fun part, because we all know, since we know the questions, we know what we are asking about, and now we are eager to know the answers. Are they going to match our expectations or are they not? And this is something else, because I noticed that Iraqi researchers right away, they have deep hypotheses. So they know already what is coming from the research, because mainly they are just focusing on the content. There is no process, unfortunately. So here, if we understand the right process of scientific research, we know that we are adding something by finding something out. So we're looking for frequencies and mean. By the way, people, our guests tonight, I'll post now the link to the attendance sheet. So go ahead, please. And, oh, sorry, I missed a person. He was unallowed to enter the meeting. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm trying to post the link to the attendance sheet. You can see it in the comment box. Go ahead and register. All right. So now we said we are looking for frequencies and mean. So if you look here at this, figure, when we open the Excel or the SPSS program, we entered all our data. Now we go to analyze. After entering all the questions, all the codes, we go to the analyze, just like here on your left hand side, you can see the figure. We go to analyze icon on the top of the first page in SPSS. Then we move to descriptive statistics, and then we click frequencies. I don't care about the other things. Maybe you can play with the program if you'd like to discover things, and then you can try things. But my aim is to find out frequencies. So I go to analyze, and then descriptive statistics, and then frequencies. When I do that, then I'll have this. Another box will appear. So you'll find all your survey items, the questions that you entered into the program. It will be listed in the left-hand side of the program. So you have to choose what do you want to, what items you would like to add, because the items that you are going to add, those items will be on the table that will appear. And these tables, be aware that everything that will appear from this program, you will save it aside because you will need to use it in your study. The results and the discussions, it will be based on these tables and all these explanations. So now we have the questions. We have to choose which items we would like to explain, and then click on them to calculate the frequencies of the answers of this particular question. Then we'll click on the arrow in the middle to move. Move them into the right box. When we move them to the right box, it means that we selected them. After that, we'll be aware that you have to add one by, but it's good to know. Now, when we finish this step, we'll have this table. So after we add all the required items, we'll click OK, and then separately, we'll have a document with all these tables. So later on, I'll talk about the APA style. I know that this is a ready-made table, but unfortunately, the SPSS doesn't follow the APA style, which is required for scientific studies. So you have to make a little bit adjustments to the tables that will emerge from this program. But anyway, the results will be ready. Kind of, the format is somehow like the APA style. We'll see about that later, sorry. So now we are done with the frequencies. We'll be in need of calculating the mean again. We are done with the frequencies, and if you can see with me, the process is not that, complicated. I enjoy it. I don't know if you will enjoy it or not, but believe me, if you do it by hand, you will enjoy it. All these results that will happen in front of you, all these things that you are making by hand, so you will enjoy it. For new people who entered the meeting right now, I'll post the link again, so go ahead and register. So we'll need to calculate the mean, and how we are going to do that, So again, we'll go to the SPSS, and then we'll go to descriptive statistics again, statistics. And instead of clicking on frequencies, we'll click on descriptives. And here we'll have to add items again. We'll add items one by one. After we add all the required items, we'll click OK. And then we'll have a table of all the means that we wanted to, to measure. Now we have a graphical representation of data. But now we are done with all the numbers. We have all our tables. And then we have graphs. Sometimes we don't need graphs. If you see that you don't need graphs, it's fine. But sometimes, no, we don't. We need these graphs, especially for the demographics. It's nice, and some researchers, some advisors, or some magazines, they highly appreciate tables and diagrams. So when you are doing the work, go ahead and prepare all those diagrams. Even if you are not going to submit it with the study, it will be just for your record, it will be saved. Because believe me, if you leave the study for a while, and we do that a lot, we write, and then we get busy, or something else will get us busy from the study. So we'll leave it aside for a while, and then when we get back, we need to remember things. So we go to all these documents, all these files, and it will help you remember what you have done. So we need two kinds of graphs for descriptive studies. And believe me, sometimes researchers, they'll just get fascinated by all these colors, all these figures, and then just add them randomly, even if they don't need them. No, for descriptive studies, we need two kinds of graphical representations, which are the bar graphs and histograms. Only these two types are used for descriptive studies. So first of all, let's talk about the bar graphs. And I said that bar graphs are used in order to show or explain demographics. Just a reminder about demographics. We said that at the last part of your survey, you have the demographic section, which talks about the sample of your study. So the demographic section will ask about, for example, age of the participants, the school they graduated from, the years of experience, whatever related to the personal information of the personnel, you will add them in the demographic section. So in order to explain these data, we need the bar graphs. In order to create a bar graph, we'll go to graphs at the top of the first page of SPSS. If you can see it here, I have all these pictures from the program itself. So we'll go to the top of the page and then go to graphs. We'll scroll down until we get to legacy dialogues, and then we'll choose bar kind of graphs. Right away, we'll have this kind of shape. So this is what a bar graph looks like. We have all the information, and you can see the downside of the bar graph. It has all the information about the sample. So it helps a lot in our studies. Now, histograms, why do we need them? We need them to do the frequencies, because see here, we have two parts in this study. We have the demographic section, and we have the questions about the topic that we'd like to investigate. So for the frequencies which are related to the questions themselves of the topic, we need a histogram. And for the demographic, just to talk about the sample, we need a bar graph. So again, in order to create a histogram, we go to the graphs at the top of the page, and then we scroll down until we get to legacy dialogues. This time, we are going to choose histograms. After we have selected histograms, we'll get this type of diagram, and you will see that we have on our left side the frequencies, and on the bottom will be the questions, etc. So it will help explain everything about your study. Now we are done with the graphs, with tables. We'll come to the main sections of a descriptive study. So finally, we are done with all the sections. We talked about the definition of the descriptive study. What do we need in order to do this study? How to create the survey, how to code the results, then distribute the survey. After that, we have to collect data and add the data to SPS as a program. And then we need to analyze our data. We'll create tables, and then we'll create the figures if we need them. Finally, now we are sitting down in order to write down the study itself. So what are the sections of the study? I'll go over these sections one by one. The first thing that will appear in your study is not the title page. Be aware. Now, all of these lectures, they are focusing on the APA style. So when I come to the lecture specifically about the quotation and documentation of the resources and writing format of the paper, I'll talk in details about the writing style, which is appropriate for each study. So concerning scientific studies, human fields kind of studies, all these studies, they are following the APA style. It's not something related to Elsevier or whatever. No. This style is specifically for the format, not the content of the studies. And we have another kind of writing. It's called the MLA, and the MLA is, needs or require footnotes, endnotes. This is something else. And in music, so don't mix it up. Studies and I think law, maybe, I'm not sure, but when I talk about them in details, I'll tell you. So now I'm talking about things or scientific studies in the field of science and everything under the umbrella of science, and studies in the human field, which means history, geography, linguistics, all these studies. Okay, so we don't have a title page, and please, when you write a study, don't put the format, these kind of frames, colors, creative things. No, we don't need them. The page will be just A4 page, nothing. And then you have to list the information, no fancy, nothing else, no colors. And then we'll talk about that in details later. So now we have the title section. It will be on the center of the first page. You have the title of the study, and then underneath we'll have the author's name or the group of authors' names. We have the affiliation, workplace, the authors, and then last we have the author's contact information, which means the email address, phone number, etc. Now we are done. Right underneath, we'll have the abstract. Now, the abstract. The abstract should not be long, and this is for granted. The abstract should not be 2 pages, should not be a page and a half, should not be a full page. No, unless it is for a dissertation or a thesis. For scientific studies, it should be half a page. It will be more than enough. okay, half a page. So it should not be long. The abstract will include the following: the problem you intend to investigate, very short. So everything in the abstract is just short, okay, and concise. The problem you intend to investigate, the importance of researching it right away. You will give it to the reader. Why do we need to research this problem? The research approach you are going to follow. Which type of research you are going to follow, okay? Is it quantitative, qualitative, mixed method, whatever? You have to state it in the abstract. And then who your participants are, if you have participants. So you have to state, I have, for example, 100 participants from this institute or from 2 institutes, etc. You have to state them in short in the abstract. And then 1 sentence about the results of your study. You can say that the results were negative or positive, 1 or 2 sentences. See? No more, no definitions, please. No definitions in the abstract. Don't define the topic in the abstract. You have to state the problem. I have a problem in this field of study, a sentence, and I'm going to investigate it. So it's important to investigate this issue because it's reflected on the community, on students, on the lab, etc. And then I'm going to investigate it by using quantitative research. I used, for example, a sample of 100 students who study in Iraq or in the University of so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And then 1 sentence about the results. The results of the study showed that the perceptions of the students towards this issue was so-and-so. And then you will state, if possible, this study is very important for these kinds of people, these scholars. It's very important to see that you have a valuable study and you are aware of the value of your study. So this is about the abstract. For new people, I'll post the link of the attendance sheet again. Go ahead, please, and sign your names. Now, after the abstract, we've got the introduction. For the introduction, you will again talk about the problem in detail this time. And then purpose of the study. This is very important, and we'll talk about that when we come to the APA style. So you have to state it this way. The purpose of my study is to investigate, is to look for, is to research this issue. Okay, so you have to say this sentence because believe me, reviewers of studies outside Iraq, I'm not talking about inside Iraq. So outside Iraq, we are looking for these kinds of information because it will show that you understand the whole thing about scientific research. So you have to state the problem again, details, and then the purpose of your study. You have to talk about your research questions. And we said it's very important to state the research questions, even if you make it a section within the introduction. So the current study will answer the following research questions, and you will state them 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then the last section of your introduction, it will be the literature review. It doesn't matter if you bring sections ahead of time, if you put the research questions last, or if you put the literature review first. It doesn't matter, it's up to you. But the introduction will have these sections all together. So you will give us the literature review in the introduction. Now we are done with the introduction. We have, after the introduction, the methodology. So the method of research that you are going to use. Sometimes, or in some fields of study, they'll say, well, we don't have practical studies. We don't have, research tools. We are just presenting data. Even so, you might not use the method, but you have to state that this study is a theoretical study, and I'll have a lecture about theoretical studies and what are the differences between all these kinds of studies. But just a reminder now, heads up. So even if you don't have a method of research, you have to state that I'll use this kind of, way of presenting data. So the methods section, you will present your first participants if you have any. So in this section, you will need the bar graphs, the tables that you've got from the SPSS section. You will state that I've got this sample. It consists of this number of people as shown in table number so and so. And you will put the table you've got from the SPSS program. And then you will talk about again the sample. Maybe you will need the bar graph. So you'll say the sample is blah, 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 as is shown in the following bar graphs or the figure number so and so. So this is the need of SPSS program, the data that we've got. So we need them in order to talk about the sample of the study. So now we got in the method section, we presented our sample. We talked about the setting. It's very important to talk about the setting because every setting is different from the other. For example, if you do a study in, even let's talk limited, talking about Iraq. If you are doing a study in Baghdad, it will be different from a study in Basra. It will be different from a study in Erbil. So you have to talk about the setting because every atmosphere adds something to your study. You have to find a difference. So talked about the setting, and now we have to talk about the procedures. We have a quantitative study, descriptive study. So we talk about the procedures that we used and the tools we use to pursue the study, which means that we'll say that this is a descriptive study. So, and there is one advice that I've got from my professor, and I tell it to my students over and over again. You understand everything. You've got control about the content of your study. So all the time, whether you are writing a research study or you are writing a book or whatever, you have to imagine, and pardon me for that, you have to imagine that the reader is stupid. He doesn't know anything. So you have to state every simple detail, even if you think that it's obvious and everyone should know it. You have to state it. So, because you never know, maybe people will miss this information. So you have to talk about the setting, the procedures, the tools. So you have to say that this is, a descriptive study, and I used the survey in order to do this study. I've got, let's say, 15 items, 15 questions, and then you will start talking about how you distributed the survey, how people responded, what difficulties and challenges have you faced, etc. Done with the method section is just describing the tools, the participants, everything about the process. We're not talking about the results right now. When we finish the method, now we've got to the data analysis or results and the discussion section. So now we have to use all the SPSS tables and figures. We said that the bar graphs, they are used in the previous section. Bar graphs and the tables about the sample of the study. We use them to talk about the sample. It's in the method section. Whereas in the data analysis, we need the frequencies results. So we have to use all our SPSS and figures and to interpret them. So we have got the numbers. We have to talk about them, okay? So we've got everything on the tables, and then we have to translate them into words. And how, at the end, when you translate everything, when you interpret everything, you have to link the parts of your study. So doing that, we go ahead and go back to the questions of the study. So we have to know how this data, how all this information helped us in order to answer the research questions, which are the goal of our process, okay? So we have to link them. Done with that, we come to the conclusion. See, it seems very easy. At the conclusion, you have to go back to draw from your study. Just like you have created all these loose parts and now you are collecting them together to remind the reader what you have done. So you'll get something from the introduction, something from the methods, something from the results. So you have to draw from the results of the study. You can start by giving a summary of your research and then present the results and their contribution to the field of study. This is very important because sometimes I ask students, they explain the process of their study. I do this, I do that, and then I ask him a question. And then what? If you do an experiment, for example, then what? Maybe he knows that unconsciously, but he fails to answer me. The unique question will be, I did that in order to get this result, which will improve this side of our daily life, for example, or that will fix this particular problem. It's very easy, but maybe our minds are not programmed in order to think this way. So try to think this way when you are writing a research study. The last thing in our descriptive study and in any study is the bibliography. The bibliography includes all resources you are using or you read in order to write this study. So here I would like you to focus on this aspect. I said bibliography, not resources, not any other title of the section, because bibliography is different from resources. How? And I explained it here. The bibliography includes all the books, all the periodicals, all the sites, everything you have read and you have actually used in your study, which means, in other words, it means that you it doesn't matter if you use this topic, this book or this resource in the study or not. Since you have read it in order to understand the issue, let's say, so you don't have to use it in the study. As a matter of fact, as soon as you read something, in order to proceed in this study, you have to write it down. So this is one of the items of my bibliography. Okay, so the bibliography, you might use this. The reviewer of the study will not look for items of the bibliography in the text because it includes resources which are not used actually in the text. Whereas the resources or sources, it means that you are using only the resources that you actually used and cited inside the content of your study. So the bibliography is safer and it's wider. So I highly recommend that you use bibliography section instead of sources or resources section. Now we are, and one more note before I end this session. For the bibliography, please, please, please do not number or put bullets to the resources that you are using in the bibliography section. This is APA style and is different. We don't need bullets in order to say that we have these resources. So this is the end of today's lecture. And now I'll open the floor to you so you can comment, ask questions if you have any, or recommendations if you like. And for people who entered the meeting right now, I'll post again the link for the attendance sheet and you can go ahead and register your names. Do you have any question? وبديت يعني أشرح بيها بالسرعة واحدة واحدة. أول نوع هو البحث النوعي، البحث الكمي. البحث الكمي هو فقط اللي يتطلب البيانات الإحصائية والتحليل الإحصائي. الأنواع الأخرى لا تختلف، فراح نتكلم عنها. طبعا ما له علاقة بالاختصاص، لا، العلاقة بنوعية البحث العلمي، نوعية الدراسة اللي أنت تريدين تسويها. فحتى احنا بالاختصاصات الإنسانية إذا اختاريتي إنه تسوين بحث نوع كمي، طبعا هاي شنو حسب ميول الباحث. فالبحث الكمي هذا هو اللي بأرقام وبتحليلات إحصائية. البحث النوعي يختلف، ما بأرقام، بتحليل طبعا راح نتكلم عنه بالتفصيل إن شاء الله بالمحاضرات القادمة. راح يتضمن مقابلات، يتضمن مثلا تحليل ملفات، تحليل يعني مستندات بالأرشيف، شغلات ملموسة، وحتكون طبعا أوسع، ما بأرقام. أكو أشخاص يحبون الاثنين، الأرقام، ويحبون الكمي والنوعي. فلهذا، وطبعا هذا اللي مفضل بالغرب حاليا، يعني صار اكو فد خلاف بين الباحثين، ناس تقول البحث الكمي هو الافضل، الاخرين يقولون البحث النوعي هو الافضل. فالترند الجديد اللي طلع بالغرب انه لا، الاثنين يكملون بعضهم. ولهذا مثلا انا من رحت ادرس بامريكا، يعني التوجه كان نحو الدراسه المختلطه اللي هي both quantitative and qualitative. فيتوجهون يشجعون طلبه الدراسات العليا انه يسوون الابحاث مالتهم والدراسات مختلطه من النوع الاثنين. اوكي، فلهذا وخاصه طلبه الدكتوراه طبعا لانه دراساتهم تكون مستفيضه، ولهذا يخلونا نسوي both، لانه يشوفون انه هاي تكمل هاي. وبالفعل يعني انا من جربتها شفت انه الاثنين ضروريات. اكو النوع الاخر اللي هو الدراسات النظريه theoretical. هذه طبعا احنا هاي مشهوره جدا بالعراق، انه مجرد بس يجمع معلومات وينطيها للقارئ، فقط يجمع معلومات عن الموضوع. لكن اكو فرق احنا ما متوصلين له بالعراق، وراح احكي عنه بالتفصيل من نوصل للثيوريتيكال ستاديز، انه اكو جزء من الباحث مفقود. واللي احنا هنا بالعراق يقول لك لا انا ما اريد رايك انت ابدا لا تذكره، الاي ما اريد اسمعها، which is very wrong. Okay, so the process of research is that we need to hear your voice, your point of view, because you are adding something to the field of study. So again, back to your question. التحليل الإحصائي مو شرط، لأنه هذا يتعلق بميول الباحث نفسه. إذا كان يحب الكواليتيتيف ستاديز فهو راح يسوي تحليلات إحصائية وأرقام. إذا كان يفضل البحث النوعي راح يتجه إلى المقابلات وإلى الدراسات الميدانية، وأكو أبحاث أخرى طبعا هاي يعني كل منه حسب الميول، الرغبات البحثية للباحث نفسه. شكرا على السؤال. For people who joined us right now, please go ahead and sign your names for the attendance sheet. أنا أشكرك شروق. هل جنابكم مقتنعون بما تؤول إليه قصدك أغلب النتائج الإحصائية حاليا، ولا سيما توجد مكاتب تعد الإحصائيات؟ هذا الهدف هو سجاد. أنا ليش يعني طبعا بالمناسبة يعني أنا من أجتمع بالأكاديميين وأحاول أستفهم من عندهم على بعض الفقرات، ألاحظ يعني بعضهم حتى الرد مالتهم عنيف وياي، يعني صرفت نوع من التصادم. أنا أفهم إنه هم مقتنعين بأفكارهم ما يحبون يتغيرون، لكن إحنا من افتهمنا هاي العملية بالطريقة الصحيحة واجبنا إنه نخلي الآخرين يفهموها بهالطريقة. لهذا أنا اختاريت أسوي هاي المحاضرات، وطبعا أتمنى أنه بالمستقبل يكون أكو فرصة تدخل من ضمن مناهج تدريس الطلبة بالدراسات العليا، أو على الأقل حتى الدراسات الأولية كخطوة أولى. لأنه السبب هو هذا يعني خلي ما أسميه انحطاط، خلينا نقول تدهور عملية البحث العلمي، وانتشار هاي المكاتب التجارية اللي تسوي النتائج الإحصائية، أو حتى بالجامعات. يعني أنا أحكي لكم من أرض الواقع وما أخاف من أحكيها. يعني الإحصائيين اللي موجودين بالأقسام هم نفسهم ياخذ فلوس ويسوي للطلبة، وهذا هي العملية اللي تمشي بهالشكل. شنو زين مو أنا عندي يعني، وهاي ماخذيها طبعا متوارثة يعني وعلى مر التاريخ بالتعليم العالي بالعراق، انه ها هي الاحصائي هو دوره، هو اللي يسوي النتائج، هو اللي ينطينا الارقام، واحنا بس نجي نستلمها على الجاهز بدون ما نفهم شنو هي. ويعني اني ممكن انه اضمن لكم يجوز يطلع يعني نسبة 20% من هاي النتائج، يعني يجوز 100 خلينا نقول شوية صحيحة، خاصة إذا أجريت بالجامعات، لكن أغلبيتها ترى يعني مفبركة. وللأسف حتى العينات من، وأنا مرت وياي هواية زملاء يعني شفتهم مع الأسف، مع احترامي لكل الباحثين، انه يقول اوكي يعني مجرد هاي دراسه اريدها للتربيه، مجرد دراسه اريدها بس حتى اعبر انجح من هذه المرحله وهذا هو، فيروح يسوي يعني ما عنده عينه او حتى يسويها يعني وهميه، ممكن شخصين ثلاثه والبقيه هو يمليهم منه ومن كيفه. هذا الخلل يا اخوان، هو الخلل من عندنا احنا نفسنا. اذا انا ما حاسب اهميه دراستي، شلون راح اهتم للنتائج؟ شلون راح اهتم للعمليه اذا كانت صادقه او لا؟ أنا من أريد أشوف لي فد مشكلة أكاديمية، مشكلة بالمجتمع، وأستمتع من خلال عملية البحث بيها. هذا هو البحث العلمي، لهذا راح يحترق قلبي حتى على النتيجة. أريد أشوف أنا كل شيء بصدق يصير بيها، أوكي؟ فلهذا يعني أنا من تعلمت هاي الطريقة، صحيح هي مو كلش معقدة، ما أدور لا انحراف معياري ولا ما أعرف شنو، هاي الشغلات الإحصائية كلها يجوز معلوماتي قليلة عنها، لكن من مشيت بهاي الطريقة، أولاً تخليني أنا مستمتعة بعملية البحث كلها، ثانياً تنطيني نتائج صحيحة وتجاوب على أسئلتي أني، وأنا جاي أحس إنه أضيف فد شيء لحقل البحث العلمي. ولهذا أنا ما مقتنعة أصلاً بما تؤول إليه أغلب النتائج الإحصائية يا سجاد بالنتيجة. طبعا المال هو الهدف وليس التعلم، صحيح يعني، وللأسف يعني هاي حقيقة، هسه ما يخالف حتى إذا المال، هسه لو مثلا يعني تكون كل الأمور واضحة، على الأقل يسوون فد شيء صحيح، ما يخالف. هسه احنا لا هذه ولا هذه، على كل. valuable point. Thank you very much. الخطأ الشائع أيضا بين الباحثين إنه بالنسبة لماهية الدراسات النوعية أيضا، يعني أنا هواي من زملائي وقلت إنه يعني إحنا يعني هاي الشخصية العراقية إنه يكون دائما أعصابها مشدودة، فمن أجي أريد أوضح فد شغلة رأسا يعني هيجي بطريقة خلينا نقول شوية هجومية، يدافعون عن اللي عندهم، يعني مو بسهولة إنه يتقبلون الآراء الأخرى. ف يعني أحد الزملاء كان يسألني عن البحث النوعي، ومن جاوبته إنه أنت اللي تسويه هذا مو نوعي، هذا مجرد يعني شنو الفكرة مالته؟ إنه هو مسوي دراسة يعني هي مو descriptive، خلينا نقول هي inferential بالحقيقة، هاي أيضا هم الفكرة كانت واضحة عنده. المهم فالدراسة هي كانت كمية، يعني كلها أرقام وانحراف معياري ورايح الإحصائي وجايب النتائج. فمن دز بروف ريدنج اللي كاتبة إنه أنا مستخدم ميكست ميثود، زين أجي وين الميكست ميثود بالموضوع؟ فمن سألته وين الجمع بين المنهجين، كان يقول لي هذا يعني من دا يحكي الكلام، من دا يفسر الأرقام إلى كلمات، يقول لي هو هذا البحث النوعي. هذا خطأ. قلت له مو هذا هو نفس دراستك أنت، دا تترجم لي النتائج تترجمها إلى كلمات. وما اقتنع وبقت هي كانت أطروحة، يعني بقت الأطروحة إنه أنا مستخدم طريقة الجمع بين المنهجين. فما أعرف إذا راح أنجح أنا شوية أغير من هاي المفاهيم المخلوطة، ما أعرف، بس على كل نحن نحاول إن شاء الله. وحتى إذا شخص واحد يقتنع بهاي الأشياء ويشوفها، يعني أتمنى إنه اللي هسه اللي يسمعون هاي المحاضرات ينجحون إنه يكتبون دراسات ويقدموها بالخارج، ويشوفون إنه شلون راح يتم تقبلها أكثر من دراساتنا اللي كنا نكتبها بالسابق. عليكم السلام، أهلا دكتور.
حياكم الله المحاضرة القيمة، بارك الله فيكم.
أشكر حضوركم، يا أهلا وسهلا، أتمنى استفاديتوا.
جزاك الله خير. دكتور، في المحاضرات يعني المقبلة ناخذ إحصاء متقدم.
قصدك الانفرنشال ستاديز؟
أي يعني الوسائل الإحصائية الأخرى، تي تيست، البيرسون، معاملات الارتباط، الكاي.
خلي أكمل هذولي وبعدين أبدي أشرح يعني هاي بالتفصيل، ما يخالف دكتور أحمد؟
طبعا. لازم دكتور، طبعا لازم المنهج
إن شاء الله.
طبعا
ماشي إن شاء الله، لأنه هاي المحاضرة الجاية محضرتها إنه تكون الكواليتيتيف ريسيرش، وصار تدلل.
بالتوفيق إن شاء الله.
عيوني، أشكركم. again for all the people who attended the lecture today. Hopefully you will join us in our next lecture, which will be about qualitative research. Good night, everybody, and goodbye.